When I was a kid, I was really into cartoons, but only certain shows piqued my interest. Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Codename Kids Next Door, shows like these fascinated me, and as I reflect on it now, I think that's because these shows had one thing that I absolutely love. Depth and meaning that a lot of shows, especially cartoons, often lack. Threads that permeate throughout the entire show and give it a unique identity and a reason to be invested in other than whatever is happening in that particular episode. And recently, I've been making a lot of videos about Over the Garden Wall, and that made me want to find other cartoons that had similar deep themes or lore that could be explored. The first show I found was Adventure Time, but it's quite long, and I haven't had the time to fully invest in the show yet. But then I found Gravity Falls, a 2-season masterpiece filled with secrets, cryptids, and otherworldly entities. Not only that, the show has some of the most iconic voice actors of all time in its cast, and it has one thing that I love so much and something that we rarely ever get to see in any media: multi-part finales. The final 3 episodes of this show is an epic conclusion to the series. I absolutely ate up the show, and since I finished it, I've been reading the journals and comics to immerse myself even deeper in the lore of the show. And that's what inspired me to create this Iceberg video. There's so much to learn about the world that Alex Hirsch created, and going through the Iceberg really helps you get a grasp of just how far down the rabbit hole goes with Gravity Falls. But full disclosure, I've only recently learned about Gravity Falls, and I've only been able to watch the show a few times, so my knowledge might be lacking compared to Over the Garden Wall. I'm still going to research each entry and do my best to explain them properly. I just wanted to put that out there in case I missed something obvious without realizing it. And with that out of the way, let's dive beneath the surface and explore the depths of the Gravity Falls iceberg. The iceberg I chose to use for this video was created by Masasagi-kun on Reddit. There's quite a few Gravity Falls icebergs out there, but this one seemed like a good one for a newcomer to the show like myself. Plenty of depth and lore, but not insanely bloated with 1,000 entries. But I'm not opposed to doing a larger iceberg, so if you enjoyed this video, I'd definitely be down to make a second video on a larger Gravity Falls iceberg. This iceberg is very front-loaded, so tiers 1 and 2 are massive compared to 3 and 4. So tier 1 I am dubbing the Mystery Shack, a place that nearly every episode features, and one that holds more secrets than you might think. Tug and Talk Shmebulok. Shmebulok is a gnome from Gravity Falls, introduced in the very first episode.
And I'm sorry, I always forget your name. Shmebulok.
Who is unable to speak anything other than his own name most of the time. But the Tug and Talk Shmebulok is a fictional plushie created to promote the show. It even has its own as seen on TV-esque commercial, and it's really good. I love that it's just absolutely massive for no reason. Unfortunately, the commercial isn't real, and the toy was never actually released.
Tug and Talk Shmebulok comes with everything you see here. Nothing. That's right, he comes with nothing, because this product isn't real.
Bill Cipher was originally supposed to be green, similar to Pym.
I love kids, Charlie! I love kids!
Originally supposed to be colored green, seeing these iconic characters in their final hue makes any other color look unnatural and just wrong. I think yellow is definitely the right choice. It fits Bill's chaotic personality quite well.
No hard feelings. I've been keeping an eye on you since then.
I'm going to drink it like a person. In episode 19 of season 1, Bill possesses Dipper, and during this time decides to declare that he will drink a soda like a person.
I'm gonna drink it like a person.
Which he does for a second, but then pours the soda directly into Dipper's eyes, which might seem like just a funny gag, but it seems as though Bill really does drink through his eyes. So maybe he just wanted to make sure that he got a good gulp of the soda and really got to taste it. Blendon Blandon's costume. Blendon Blandon is a time traveler, though not a very good one. When he is first spotted by Dipper and Mabel, he flips through the camouflage settings on his suit, which are not random, but are actually little previews of locations we'll see in following episodes. 6/15/12. This is the release date for the first episode of the series. What's interesting about this is that the finale to the show took place on 2/15/16, which seems intentional given the show's proclivity for clues and ciphers, but the show's creator said this is actually just a funny coincidence. Bill Cipher's original first appearance. In Bill's first appearance in the show, he comes off as extremely terrifying and all-knowing, but in the original version of the storyboard, Bill was a lot less intimidating and more of an anticlimactic little gag. I'll have the full scene linked below in case you wanted to check it out. 6/18, or 618. 618 is a recurring number throughout the show, and the reason for this is that it is the birthday of the show's creator, Alex Hirsch, and his twin sister Ariel Hirsch. Speaking of the show's creator, Alex Hirsch's Twitter drawing contest. In 2014, Alex Hirsch had a Twitter contest where he challenged fans of the show to color in this image of Bill and Mabel in an outlandish way. He picked out winners based on different categories, and here are some of the winners of those categories. Most horrifying, most smile dippy, most Mabel-y, the Lady Mableton Prize, Alex Hirsch voice characters. The creator of the show not only wrote, directed, and animated large amounts of the show, but also voiced many of the most iconic characters. The vocal range of this guy is actually insane. Put a clip of him doing the voices here, or actually that's what this whole point was about, never mind. He voiced Grunkle Stan,
The Mystery Shack, folks!
Seuss,
I say dudes a lot, dudes.
Old Man McGucket,
Old Man McGucket!
the Gnomes,
Is this weird? Is this too weird? Do you need to sit down?
Quentin Tremblay,
And a half president of the United States of America.
Schmebulok,
Schmebulok.
Dippy Fresh,
What's up, dude bros?
and of course, Bill Cipher himself.
And the universe is a hologram, buy gold!
Rules about Dipper and Mabel. Alex Hirsch had to set down a very important rule about Dipper and Mabel, and that is that even though they may be at odds sometimes, at the end of the day, they love and care about each other and should not ever end an episode hating each other. This was due to the writers not understanding the twin dynamic and wanting to have the two twins be sort of like enemies or rivals, which would have ruined the vibe of the show. And there's also a few other rules about the twins that Alex has stated, those being Mabel's not stupid, Dipper is smart, but not the stereotypical nerd character. They are twins since birth, so they should behave like they know everything about each other and are extremely close, having that classic twin bond. The more situations they go through, the closer they grow, and the most important being Dipper wants to grow up too fast, while Mabel does not, which ends up becoming the catalyst for the finale of the series. Bill Cipher AMA. For 1 hour in 2015, Bill Cipher held an AMA on Reddit. A lot of the answers are extremely entertaining and actually insightful to the lore of the show. A few of my favorites are, do you know if Zeus knew about the car accident? To which Bill answered,
What Zeus doesn't know could fill a warehouse.
do you have any family? To which he answered,
Not anymore.
and given what Bill did to his home universe, that is a very scary answer. And then finally, so I was pondering the other night, are you a being outside of human known concepts of time and space? Or are you an entity brought upon by a feasible, possibly earthly concept that is unknown to mortal man? To which Bill replied,
I exist in a state of quantum uncertainty. That means that everything I am, I'm also not. It also means that your cat is dead. Blame Schrodinger. He's a lousy pet sitter.
We'll Meet Again song. Sung by Bill in Weirdmageddon Episode 3, it was later revealed that Disney wanted to cut the song due to the cost of the licensing rights, but Alex Hirsch constantly berated them with emails of just the word please until they relented and spent thousands of dollars on the rights to use the song in the episode. Speaking of music, Bill Cipher deleted musical number. Bill was going to have a villainous musical number during the finale with terrifying lyrics set to an upbeat music, but the song was eventually cut for time. A partially animated version is linked in the description. Shop at Home with Mr. Mystery. All Shop at Home is a series of infomercial style advertisements for various anomalous items done in a puppet show style. They're very entertaining and genuinely funny, and once again, I've linked a compilation of them in the description. Blurble. Alex Hirsch once tweeted that, quote, everything I say about the show is canon, and then tweeted that Mabel's middle name is Blurble. So, now it is. Dark Horse Comics Gravity Falls canceled art book. An art book for the show was originally planned to be released in 2019, but was apparently shut down by Disney. Kinda lame, but art books are usually very limited print, so it's not like we could afford one anyways. Dipper Internet History. Apparently, Dipper spends a lot of time looking up redheads on the internet. The amount of clothing they're wearing is so far unknown. Dipper's real name. Dipper is actually a nickname due to the character's Big Dipper shaped birthmark on his forehead. In the print release of Journal 3, we learn his real name is Mason. Disney's S&P letters to Alex Hirsch. S&P are standards and practices, which basically go over the show and make sure that everything is aligned with the show's ratings and the studio's image. But I prefer Zach Hadel's definition.
There's a few things we had to cut because of S&P standards and practices. Yeah. And they basically just come in. If you have anything that's funny or slightly good idea, they'll come in and want to change
They
it.
usually
And,
get
Alex Hirsch released many of the notes given to him by S&P of changes they wanted to make to the show and his responses. I'll link the full video, but a couple of my favorites are, please revise Zeus's line about dressing as a giant teddy bear and may call to mind the people who dress up as stuffed animals as a furry fetish. And please replace G's as the term is considered an abbreviation for Jesus. I just love that a 37-year-old Disney executive had to sit down at their laptop and type that one out. Derlin and Blubs are together. Though the two policemen are played off as comedic buddies, it was confirmed by Alex that the two are indeed in a relationship. This is hinted at throughout the series, although it's never outright stated within the series. The eye colors of the characters. Dipper and Mabel and Stan's eyes are brown, though Mabel's eyes do turn green in the episode The Inconveniencing, but that is a result of an overdosing on that pure Colombian smile dip. Wendy's eyes are actually green, and little Gideon's eyes are blue. Federal agents in background. In episodes 1 through 11 of season 2, you can spot agents in the background spying on the Pines family, showing that they are ever present. How Gideon Found Journal 2 deleted scene. There was originally going to be a scene depicting how Gideon found Journal 2, but it was cut from the show. He would find it in the woods, but the exact manner of how he found it is unknown. Gravity Falls Journal 3 physical copy and limited edition. A real physical edition of Journal 3 was created along with a special edition that has secret messages from Ford that are only visible with a blacklight. Alex said that Disney wanted him to create a Journal 2 and 1 as well, but he said that they wouldn't make sense narratively and wrote the Book of Bill instead. The journals are no longer in print, but you can find them online if you want to see the secret messages. Grindinator. During a Comic-Con, a fan asked Alex what Grinda's last name was. He said he never gave her one and asked the fan what they think it should be, to which the fan answered Grindinator, which Alex thought was very funny, and now, canonically, that is her last name. Mystery Tour 2013. In 2013, the Gravity Falls production crew took a 4-day road trip through Oregon and Northern California to find the weirdest tourist attractions to use as inspiration for the show, which is where they found the original Mystery Shack. Mass media references. There are tons and tons of references to real-life media in the show. Some of my favorites are Baba, which is a parody of ABBA, Pit Cola, which is a reference to Mr. Pibb, which is a soda I really loved as a kid, but I don't think it actually exists anymore. Also, the interdimensional portal is a reference to my favorite TV series Stargate.
Colonel O'Neill, what the hell are you doing? In the middle of my backswing?
And the more I learn about the show, the more I come to love it. There's seriously tons of references when watching the show, so I'm sure you'll come across some niche references that only a select group of people would catch on to. Mabel Good Deeds deleted scene. In the episode The Last Mabel Corn, there's a montage of Mabel fixing her karma in a My Name is Earl-like sequence. A lot of the original deeds storyboarded for the sequence were cut for time. The original storyboard is linked in the description. Opening was supposed to have lyrics. Though unknown, it is known that the opening of the show was going to have lyrics, but I love the opening theme so much, and keeping it just an instrumental was definitely the right choice. Password for McGucket's laptop. There are actually two answers for this entry. In Journal 3, we learned the password to Old Man McGucket's laptop is Stanford. But according to Bill Cipher, the password is actually Gullible. It's possible the password was changed between Journal 3 and Bill saying the password. Or he could just be being a little jokester. Shadowtail the Invisigerbil. Dipper at one point was in his Chris Chan bag and wrote a Sonic fanfic where he was featured as a character named Shadowtail the Invisigerbil and had a magnifying glass for a hand. Maybe it's a good thing we never see their parents in the series. Family Automart. The character Bud Gleeful was inspired by a real-life dealership in Florida Hearst saw a commercial for when he was a kid. Stan election website. There's an official website for the Stan Pines election campaign. It's only one page, but it is kind of funny that they made an actual website for that. TV interview deleted scene. One thing about making a show for TV is you gotta cut a lot of stuff. The TV interview from episode 1 of season 2 was originally a lot longer, but was cut down. Another link is provided for those of you interested in the full scene. Wendy is bisexual. Alex Hirsch confirmed via tweet that Wendy is bisexual, and I can see it. She do be wearing plaid. Zeus maze rescue deleted scene. The scene where Zeus is stuck in the maze had an alternate ending where a helicopter finds him, but instead of rescuing him, gives him a puzzle book of mazes. Zeus is based on a real person. Zeus is based on Alex Hirsch's real-life friend from Cal Arts named Jesus Chambro, and actually auditioned for the role of Zeus, but was not cast for unknown reasons.
Don't be mad, but I kinda broke your cash register.
Maybe Alex had to reach his 50 character voice acting quota. Full audition in the description. Mystery Shack is based on a real place. As we said earlier, the production crew went on a little journey to find oddities in Northern California, or just the Pacific Northwest, and they found the real life inspiration for the Mystery Shack, which is called Confusion Hill, a roadside attraction in Piercy, California. Though the two locations are visibly very different, you can see where the inspiration for the weird attractions and gift shop feel came from. Grunkle Stan is based on Alex Hirsch's grandfather. Fun fact about him, he married Alex's grandmother after just 3 weeks of dating, and then remarried her after their divorce. Also, Alex spread his ashes in the Caesars Palace Casino's women's restroom, so he could spend eternity looking up women's skirts. Scrapped end credits scene. The end credits Polaroids montage was cut down in the final edit, but the full video is, well, you know where to find it. I like seeing the twins hanging out together without the looming threat of doom ruining their summer, and I wish we could have seen this full end credit scene in the original release. And that is all of Tier 1. Tier 2, I am dubbing The Locked Room, and these entries are more obscure than the first tiers and also feature a lot of cut content that we never got to see. Let's dive in. The creepypasta based scrapped episode. There was going to be a creepypasta based episode centered around a wraith called the Watcher, and the episode was going to be very dark, supposedly feature an on-screen death, but this episode never came to light, and if it was supposed to replace the Summer Ween episode, I'm glad we never got it. Jimmy Snake's unused episode. Another dropped episode is Jimmy Snakes, about an old bike rider friend of Grunkle Stan. There's an old biker helmet in Stan's room that hints towards this episode, but I think I prefer the loner Stan more, and implying that he has friends outside of Gravity Falls kind of hurts his character. Mabel's Guide to Smiles. Another cut piece of content is Mabel's Guide to Smiles, in which Mabel was going to cheer up inmates at a local prison. I can see why this was cut. Cast members that never happened. There were many roles that were offered to various celebrities that never actually made it into the show. Some of note are Bob Odenkirk playing Stan, Matt Chapman playing Zeus, and David Lynch playing Bill.
If you or who can believe it, it's a Friday once again.
Silence of the Hams. Probably the episode in which Mabel's Guide to Smiles would have taken place. Silence of the Hams was going to be an episode where Mabel visits Gideon in jail in order to find the antidote for Waddle's illness. Sweater Off Dead, scrapped episode. The premise of this episode was going to be Mabel accidentally buying a possessed sweater and having to go through an exorcism, which I'm personally glad was never done. I don't think bringing attention to Mabel's ever-changing fashion would have been the move. Ciphers used in the show. There are several ciphers that can be used to decode secret messages throughout the show. Episodes 1 through 6 use a Caesar cipher, in which every letter is replaced with a different letter in a decided position in the alphabet. So like the show used a 3-letter Caesar cipher, so a D would be an A, E would be a B, and so on. Episodes 17 through 13 use an at-bash cipher. At-bash ciphers is just the alphabet reversed, so Z is A, so on, so on. Episodes 14 through 19 used an A1Z26 cipher, and what that means is just that all letters correspond to their number of their position in the alphabet. 1 is A, 3 is C, whatever, whatever. You get the idea. 2, 15, 15, 2, 19. Episode 20 used a combination of ciphers, and episode 21 used a Venari cipher, which is just a more complex version of a Caesar cipher, making it harder to decode. There's a ton of ciphers and backwards speak within the show, and if you'd like to see a full video on it, I'd be glad to go through and find all of them. Gideon and Bud Gleeful role in the pilot. Originally, Gideon and Bud Gleeful were going to be government agents, and Bud Gleeful was more serious and was planned to have a larger role in the show. Greg Cobalt. This is the name of the original main character of Gravity Falls way back when Alex had the idea in college. The twins were nowhere to be seen, and instead the series was focused on a character called Greg Cobalt, who was a young adult who goes on a trip after a breakup and discovers the town of Gravity Falls, filled with weird phenomena and a cult that runs the town. Kinda sounds like that one show with the birds and stuff. Dipper and Mabel are a lot more relatable for kids, and the idea of the cult was eventually tweaked to create the Society of the Blind Eye. It is interesting to see how the concept for a project can change so much while still maintaining that initial vibe that was used in the original premise. Halloween-based scrapped episodes. The Halloween or Summerween episode went through a lot of ideas before the product was finalized. At one point, It was based around Stan having a horror show on TV, and another was the gang getting sucked into a haunted VHS tape. I think the idea was revamped into the pinball part of the Bottomless Pit episode, but I like both of the ideas. I wish we got more Halloween-like episodes of the show. It is my favorite holiday, and the town of Gravity Falls just lends itself so well to the Halloween vibe. Love God deleted scenes. The Love God was supposed to be a lot more LGBTQ forward, but all of his symbolism and actions around this persona were cut by Disney. What was behind Dipper's door in Weirdmageddon 2? Behind Dipper's door was basically Rick and Morty. Dipper would have become Ford's apprentice and gone on all kinds of adventures with him, but would eventually meet back up with a high school age Mabel and realize all the important life moments he's missing out on by staying with Ford in Gravity Falls. Superhero-based episode. There was a superhero-based episode premise where Zeus would write a comic book featuring the main cast as a group of superheroes, but with really odd and not very useful powers. I think Zeus was like a lizard man, and Dipper was like a sandwich guy or some kind of sort of food man or something. Scrapped Labyrinth movie-based episode. In this episode, Dipper and Mabel would watch Pan's Labyrinth, and Dipper would contract a fear of puppets before being sucked into the labyrinth and being tormented by puppets while Mabel hangs out with the Goblin King. There's a nod to this episode in one of Mabel's Guides to Life, where Zeus's makeup is done to look like the Goblin King. Unaired pilot. The pilot of Gravity Falls was created as a proof of concept before the show was originally greenlit. But after production started, Alex Hirsch was dissatisfied with the look of the show and changed the production team. The full pilot was never aired, but it's available on YouTube and linked below, of course. Cipher Hunt ARG. This was a real-life treasure hunt to find a hidden Bill Cipher statue in the real world. The hunt spanned the globe, and clues were hidden in Russia, Japan, and America. I need to make a full video on the hunt eventually because the story of it is absolutely incredible. The fact that they pulled off this hunt is absolutely insane. But the finale of the hunt was the finding of the real-life Bill Cipher statue, proving that Bill now exists in our reality. Dear God. Unicorn fight deleted scene. The unicorn episode actually had tons of production problems, and it's not surprising that there are more than one entry about this episode. This is the only animated footage of the fight, and I wish it would have made it into the episode. Robbie originally didn't put a mind control message in the song. The reason for the mind control message being in the song was going to be that Robbie plagiarized the song from another band, and it was just a coincidence that the mind control message was in there. This was supposed to lead Dipper to come to terms with Robbie and Wendy liking each other in a more mature sort of way. I don't know how I feel about this alternate version. I like it in some ways, but I don't know how much I like Robbie being a chill dude. What do you think? Camping scrapped episode. Now that I think about it, it's kind of crazy that there are no real camping episodes in the show. This episode concept was replaced with the Bottomless Pit episode as a kind of campfire storytelling episode, but the original campfire episode would have involved the Headless Horseman, which would have been pretty cool to see. Party Monster scrapped episode. This episode would have seen Dipper summoning a monster he found in Journal 3 in order to stop a party that Stan was throwing at the Mystery Shack. The idea was cut for making Dipper seem too stuck up and unlikable, and the party idea was transformed into the episode Double Dipper, which in my opinion is one of the best episodes of the entire show. Alex Hirsch wanted to end Gravity Falls after season 1, not due to not having a plan, but simply to overwork. The production of season 1 took a gigantic toll on Alex's physical and mental health, leading him to wanting to end the show after one season, but surprisingly, Jon Stewart and our boy Patrick McHale convinced him to see it through to the end. The original pitch for season 2 was only 10 episodes, but was extended to a full 20 by Disney. Stanentology. This was an episode where Stan would form his own religion called Stanentology, but was cut due to a fear of backlash. Unfortunately, the beliefs of Stanentology are unknown.
I ate him!
Bill Cipher ate Leonardo da Vinci. Party in Double Dipper was actually a birthday party for Stan and Ford. This theory stems from this scene,
Whose birthday is it again? Nobody's.
and the fact that the episode is near the beginning of the summer, and we know Stan and Ford's birthday is June 15th, so it's not impossible that the party is a celebratory birthday party for the twin brothers. Dipper killing Dippy Fresh deleted scene. I feel like this is a joke, and I doubt that this is an official animation, but there's apparently a cut scene of Dipper killing Dippy Fresh, which is kind of funny. Just put a neck snap in a children's cartoon and then never acknowledge it. Missing Wendy episode. Alex Hirsch has stated several times that Wendy episodes were written and pitched, but ultimately they couldn't find a strong enough theme in order to put the episode into the show. If we look at the other two episodes not focused on Dipper and Mabel, like Zeus's Party and The Tale of Two Stands, it's clear that character-focused episodes were meant to have strong emotional ties and strongly represent the characters they are about, and the team just couldn't nail down a strong enough theme for Wendy. Groundhog Day loop episode. This episode would have been a diner-based one where our characters are stuck with a bunch of other people from different times, all in the same time loop. This could have been a cool premise, but I think it would have been a bit too jumbled when combined with the other time travel based episodes. Lumberjack Ghost is an ancestor of Wendy's family. This is confirmed in Journal 3, where we also learn the name of the lumberjack, Archibald Corduroy. Not surprising, given Wendy's affinity for chopping wood. Mabel was supposed to die in season 2, so this sounds insane, but the idea was a lot less gruesome than you might think. The premise revolved around a more grown-up version of Dipper from the future showing up, looking ragged and beaten, to tell Dipper that he has to change the past or Mabel will die in the future. Already, right there, Disney is cutting that idea. But anyways, he is sucked back into the future before he can give Dipper all the details, but he does manage to give Dipper a code that helps him figure out the right steps to save Mabel. In theory, I like the premise, especially including a time-traveling Dipper, leading to the idea that Dipper does go on to involve himself in more mysteries in the future, but I just don't think the premise works with the show. The mortal peril of the show is always more existential or vague and less a literal death threat. I think it's understandable why they cut this one. The next tier I'm calling Secret Layer. We are moving away from cut content and dead ideas and more into what can be extrapolated through context and the deeper themes of the show. Every Bill Cipher image is a peephole. Bill possesses he possesses the ability to see through any depiction of himself. So every drawing, picture, memorial, anything that is Bill, he can see through the eye of that artwork, allowing him to spy on Dipper through the journal and various residents and locations in Gravity Falls. This power was confirmed during Bill's Reddit AMA. Axolotl and Bill's final message. Okay, this one goes deep. The axolotl is not this cute little thing, but is a big cute little thing that is essentially an all-powerful god within the Gravity Falls universe. But not only the universe, the multiverse. We'll get into that in a second. When Bill is being destroyed at the end of Weirdmageddon Part 3, he says, so what does this plea do? Well, it seems that simply knowing about the axolotl and knowing that you can invoke its name allows you to do so. There's a Gravity Falls comic where Dipper and Mabel come upon the axolotl and he allows them to each ask him a question which he will answer. Mabel asks who he is, which he replies, the axolotl, and Dipper asks him what he knows about Bill Cipher, which the axolotl gives this very interesting response in the form of a poem. 60 degrees that come in threes, watches from within birch trees, saw his own dimension burn, misses home but can't return, says he's happy, he's a liar, blame the arson for the fire. If he wants to shrink the blame, he'll have to invoke my name, one way to absolve his crime, a different form, a different time. That's a lot of information, so I'm going to break it down line by line because this is one of the coolest entries on this iceberg. 60 degrees come in threes. Bill's a triangle. We're confirming we're talking about Bill. Watches from within birch trees leads back to that theory about him seeing through his own imagery. Saw his dimension burn tells us that Bill's dimension has been destroyed, possibly the two-dimensional dimension. And I think he can't return because it's gone. It's dust. Not that he's trapped in Gravity Falls dimension, but he just literally can't return to his. Says he's happy. He's a liar. Bill would never admit that he regrets his actions, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have regrets. Blame the arson for the fire. This is saying that Bill is to blame for his dimension being destroyed, and that's why he's calling Bill the arson. If he wants to shrink the blame, he'll have to invoke my name, meaning that the only way Bill can repent for his actions is to call upon the axolotl, which I think means that in this life there's no way for him to absolve himself, so that he'll have to do it in another life, and the next line confirms that for me. One way to absolve his crime, a different form, a different time. Meaning that Bill will be reborn as a different person or thing in a different time period, possibly even a different dimension. And when he calls upon the axolotl, He is essentially saying that the axolotl is correct. He's run out of time in this dimension, and he agrees to return in a different form to absolve his crimes. I think that Bill could have done this at any point, but as he says, it's his time to burn. So rather than join his dimension being destroyed, he calls upon the axolotl. Possibly, this is completely speculation, but it's possible Bill and the axolotl have met before, and maybe he asked to forget about his dimension destruction or be forgiven in some way, and the axolotl says the only way he can do this is if Bill does an equal amount of good in another life. Bill, at this point, still thinking he's all-powerful, doesn't agree to the terms, but when he's finally being defeated and about to be destroyed, he then decides he'll call upon the axolotl and repent for his sins or whatever triangle people call bad things. Whether something like this happened in the past is unknown, and whether or not the axolotl granted Bill a second chance is also unknown. Bill actually fulfilled his part of the deal with Dipper. This is kind of a roundabout way of filling in the plot hole, but Bill only says he'll give Dipper a hint to the password, which he does by smashing the laptop and exposing the McGucket Labs label, which later leads to the Society of the Blind Eye. Not the greatest conclusion in my opinion. Zodiac sign and more Impura similarities. This one is also deep, but a little more far-fetched. So I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but the Manipura is one of the 7 chakras in Hinduism, which this entry is posing is a representation of Bill's cipher, or that rather Bill is a representation of it. It is a triangle surrounded by 10 symbols, and meditating on this chakra will give you the power to either save or destroy the world. Bill chooses the latter. The laptop countdown was fake. So usually, right before Bill appears, the people entering the black and white dreamscape zone close their eyes, showing that they've fallen asleep and gone into the Bill-controlled dream. So it's kind of odd that Dipper didn't close his eyes when the black and white zone went off and Bill appeared. It was after he shut his eyes that the laptop told him there were too many failed attempts. This theory is saying that Dipper was already asleep and Bill added the countdown as part of the dream in order to entice him to make a deal with him. Very tricky. The prerequisite for candidacy is being able to cast a shadow. This is stated by Sheriff Blubbs in the episode The Stanturian Candidate, which the requirements to be able to run for mayor include casting a shadow, counting to 10, and throwing in your hat. But as we see in this image, for some reason, Ford doesn't cast a shadow. Dipper was dead while being possessed. I like this theory a lot. When Mabel touches Dipper during his possession, she says that he is chillingly cold, implying that while possessed, Dipper isn't still in there like some kind of get out situation. He's literally just dead and floating around as a spirit. I like to think of this entry as canon. Bill's blue flame handshaking. When Bill is making a deal with someone, his hand, which he wants to shake with the person, is covered in a blue flame. In many world mythologies, blue fire is considered to be a symbol of safety and protection. But if you see the blue fire in the dream, its symbolism is fully opposite. In dreams, it symbolizes danger, challenges in the near future, and a warning sign. And since Bill operates primarily in the dreamscape, this is what his blue fire represents. Quetzalcoatl and axolotl theory. There's some similarities between Bill's cipher and the axolotl and the Aztec gods. In Aztec culture, there were 2 twin gods, Quetzalcoatl, the god of knowledge, and Xalotl, the god of sickness, fire, and lightning. Despite being twins, Quetzalcoatl and Xalotl were enemies because they were on opposite sides of nature, or their personalities were opposite. In the myths, Xalotl is in a critical situation and doesn't wish to be destroyed, so in his final acts, he turns himself into an axolotl to save himself. This would imply that Bill is equal to the axolotl in power, which I don't think is true. I think the axolotl is so above this dimension and everything else happening that he's usually just an uninterested spectator or observer unless his name is invoked. Though it is very possible that the idea for the axolotl was inspired by this mythology. Theme of escapism in Gravity Falls. Escapism is defined as the tendency to distract oneself from stress, responsibilities, or unpleasant realities of daily life. It usually involves seeking refuge in entertainment, daydreams, or imagination to provide a temporary mental break or emotional relief. We see this a lot in Gravity Falls, especially with the unresolved issues between Ford and Stan, as well as Dipper when he refuses to man up and ask Wendy out, and instead come up with more and more convoluted plans in order to avoid the responsibility of doing so. And lastly, we see it with Mabel when she chooses to live out in a fantasy reality created by Bill and allowing Weirdmageddon to happen instead of letting Summer end and having to grow up and go to high school. The final tier of this iceberg is only one entry, but it is quite a complex one, so I'm dubbing this tier The End. Mimetic themes in Gravity Falls. Alright, buckle in. What are mimetics, and how exactly do they relate to this children's TV show? Well, mimetics are defined as the theoretical study of ideas, behaviors, and cultural information as self-replicating entities called memes. So a meme, like a joke, little joke, is literally a mimetic, or a cultural entity. It is a way to store information, specifically cultural information, in something vaguely or not related to the meme at all, which we can use in the shorthand to describe a mood or response to a question. And a big part of mimetics is how these memes evolve over time, or how they change meaning while still largely displaying the same information outright, like visually or otherwise. I know that's a little confusing, so here's a couple of examples. This sound has permeated the global culture. It's a sound from the game Among Us, but you didn't even need to know that to recognize it. And given its frequent use in many memes that involve someone being sus, we now identify the sound with something suspicious or out of place, even if the sound is used in a comedical context. All that is true, even though the sound is just a sound. It doesn't actually mean anything literally. Only through making it a meme have we given it meaning. Another example of a mimetic is this image. Two astronauts staring at Earth, where one is about to shoot the other. This was originally a flat Earth meme, where the first astronaut says, "Wait, it's flat," and the other says, "It always has been," with the blicky pointed at his head. But it's been modified in a lot of ways to make a lot of different jokes. The image is the meme, and it might change slightly depending on the joke, like this one or this one, but the core of the meme, the "wait, it's always been X, always has been" with the gun, remains the same. And the mutation of the image is where mimetics comes in. The meme evolves, trying to stay popular, and while some of these evolutions work and some don't, it's similar to genetic mutation. The meme might gain more popularity, or it might die out due to disinterest. All that to say, this idea poses that Bill himself is a mimetic entity, and can only influence the world as long as he is known in it. So all that iconography of Bill is not only a people for him, but it is how he exists. This could be due to him being a two-dimensional being struggling to exist in a three-dimensional universe. He might need anchors in order to stay present, and we know that he has quite a lot of anchors. And here are a few points to support this claim. It is stated that he cannot act in the real world because he is a being of pure energy, but he can when a person lets him do it. Also, it's stated every image of Bill is a peephole. Through them, Bill can interact with the real world. According to official books related to Gravity Falls, Bill was present in human history for a long time. Because of him, the pyramids were built, and he made himself be put into the dollar bill. Images of him are everywhere. In Journal 3, it is written that he is a dream demon, and there is a warning: whatever you do, don't let him into your mind. This can be considered a joke from Alex, but it is stated that Bill was erased from Gravity Falls and put into our world via the statue. So this theory would pose that since we all learned of Bill and made him computer backgrounds and plushies and statues, he is now in our reality, anchored by the iconography we created of him, which is a very long-winded way of saying Bill now exists, cognito ergo sum. Bill is here, and he is here to stay. I got kind of dark there for a second, but that's the end of the iceberg. I learned a lot while writing this video, and I hope you learned a lot by watching it. What were some of your favorite entries? Any you disagree with? Let me know. I want to start replying to some of the comments in previous videos in more detail at the end of these videos, and that'll be the new outro for videos, so it's not just like, okay, video done, bye, and it gives me a way to, give a better answer to some comments. Since it's my first time doing it, I'm going to pick from a few different videos, but in the future, I'll probably limit it to the previous video. This one's one that I get a lot on the Over the Garden Wall analysis video. Have you ever seen the interpretation that Over the Garden Wall is a reimagining of Dante's Inferno? I have seen this a lot, And there's a video on it. I've never watched the video, but I do know, like Beatrice, the bird, is the woman that Dante is searching for in Dante's Inferno. The Edelwood trees being similar to the people being turned into trees. There's like a ton of stuff about it. I want to make a full video on it, but also someone's already done it, so I don't know if I should make the video. And also I don't totally agree with it. I think it just used similar things from like Purgatorio. I don't think it's totally a reference to Dante's Inferno, but I probably will make a video on it sometime in the future. I just wanted to put it out there that I've seen all of the comments comparing it to Dante's Inferno. I saw this comment talking about Tim Curry in Over the Garden Wall. I didn't even know he was in the show. I was like, who is Tim Curry? And I was trying to think over the show. I had to look it up. I was like, he's Auntie Whispers? I didn't even know that. I found that so interesting. This comment is talking about how they wish Over the Garden Wall was longer. And fun fact, Over the Garden Wall was actually supposed to be a full, at least one season, not just a mini series, but like a full 22-minute episodes. But Patrick McHale refused to live in Los Angeles because he hated that it didn't have seasons. So eventually Cartoon Network had to like negotiate him down into making a mini series that he agreed to, because he only had to live in Los Angeles for like a year or two instead of having to move there permanently to make a full-blown TV series. And while I do wish Over the Garden Wall was longer, I think by limiting it to the length that it is, that makes it a lot more symbolic. I don't know how to say it. Like, they aren't allowed to directly express things, so you kind of have to pick up things from context clues. And I think that makes the show a lot more interesting overall, and intentionally or unintentionally ends up making it a deeper show. And yeah, I think we'll stop there for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed me going over a new series. If you want to see some more Gravity Falls content, let me know in the description and I'll do something. I have one video planned, but if you guys really like this, I'll make another Iceberg. I'll do the Cipher video where I go over all the different ciphers. Again, thank you for watching. Like it, maybe subscribe, and I'll see ya next time.